Hello and welcome to another lesson on sound isolation and room acoustics. My name is Wilson Harwood. I am a studio designer and acoustician based in Nashville, Tennessee. Today I'm super excited because we have another drummer video. This is one of our clients who is a drummer. He teaches drum lessons and he wants to be able to jam with his friends in his basement. And so we designed an incredibly sound isolated and beautiful studio, may I add, that he can play drums whenever he wants, 24/7. He could wake up in the middle of the night and say, I want to go play my drums at 3 a.m. and not bother any neighbors. And he can also teach lessons out of there, make a little extra cash, and just have a truly enjoyable experience in this studio. I'm honestly a little jealous. It looks amazing. I'll show you guys. You're probably seeing some of the renders right now, but also I'm going to show you some of the renders here in a second and just show you what the end product will look like. The studio is moving into the build stage, so it has not been completed yet, but it's going to be awesome, and I'll show you guys exactly how we built it here so you can learn. Before we jump in, I do have a free resource for you. This is my free soundproofing workshop. This is a great resource if you're jumping in on this journey of trying to learn how to build a soundproof home recording studio or even just a soundproof room in general. And you can watch it right away. Just go to soundproofyourstudio.com/workshop. All right, let's jump into how we designed this incredible studio for one of our drummer clients. Let's dive in. All right, so here we can see the SketchUp file, the finished SketchUp file. I'm going to show you guys just kind of this overview look so you can see looking down into it with the ceiling and the acoustic clouds off. You'll notice that we have some floating outlets in there. I'll talk about that later during the electrical section. But generally speaking, this is a nice sized basic room in his basement built on a concrete slab, as you can see here. We also have some existing walls, 2x6 wall that was existing here. There was a window that we decided to take out. This was an existing partial stud wall with mostly concrete here and then concrete on this side. So he's off to a good start. Ceiling height, just since a lot of people usually want to know that too, is about 8 feet 4 inches. So nothing super tall, but pretty good for just a general studio. The layout is made for jamming, for drum lessons, and for him to listen and have a great way to do some of his own recording in here if he wants. But the goal of this room is mostly for practice rehearsals and teaching lessons, just so you guys know that. All right, check this out. I have to show you all. This is really cool. So we can see this is one of the amazing renders that my team did. Notice we have a glass door. Now it shows the outside there. That's just because the way our model is, but this would be the rest of his basement. And for teaching lessons, we wanted to have some sort of a window, so it's not just like a dungeon room in his basement. And this is an ISO store door where you can get the glass built in. I'm a huge fan of this, honestly. Of just getting the glass built into your door and not having to build a separate window. It's like $760 for a window in there, and that's, trust me, that's going to be way cheaper than if you were to build a glass window anywhere else. So pretty amazing stuff here. Let me show you guys this one too. This is just really great. Another view here, we got the nice Rhodes keyboard, the DW drum set, and all this is GIK acoustics except for the top here, Alex McVeigh custom panels based in Nashville. And yeah, it's just gonna be a really beautiful room. We opted for a little bit more of the I was really leaning in towards the GIK acoustic panels that have diffusion front panels. I love this for home studios because we get the absorption, but we also brighten up the room in the back half of the room. And that allows for a larger sounding room in general. And then let's go over here, take a look, one more shot here. It's pretty cool. And then one last shot just for fun. You guys can see this just looking straight on. So you get a sense of the space. We always do these 3D renders for our clients because we really want them to have a sense of the space before we finish the room, get a sense of the lighting. And this helps contractors too with just seeing the final space so they know what's going on. You can see here we even have all the details in, like outlets and switches and stuff like that. So it's pretty incredible, the amount of detail we put into these projects, but we found it's really worth it. So let's dive into the overview of this. And I want to show you guys first just a plan view that we have. All right, so we have the plan view pulled up here. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and show you guys just kind of the general layout. We always do this on the beginning just show like a little 3D perspective. And then this is nice because this gives you an idea of exactly what's going on here. So we've got all the acoustic panels, we've got a schedule for our doors, and we even do a schedule for the walls so the contractor knows exactly what we're dealing with here. Now, to look at our walls here, the main thing we're doing that made this room so incredibly sound isolated is one of my favorite approaches. I'm going to zoom in even more here so you guys can see it, but look at all those layers of sheetboard layers. What that is we have OSB, so 23/30 seconds OSB as the beginning. We do that on all our studios now. Then we have 3 layers of 5/8 inch drywall. On the outside, we couldn't really touch much of the outside, so this side is going to be great because it's just going to have the hardy plank siding, and then the existing OSB, and then we've got the concrete block wall, which is going to be great on this side. And then the same thing here. What's really important for the rest of the house is we did the same thing. So we have matching walls here. So OSB, 3 layers of drywall, OSB, 3 layers of drywall here. And 2, this is one of my favorite things. We went all out on the doors, 100, 101. If we go over to the door schedule here, we can see that we have the ISOStore HDLF and the ISOStore HD door. This, guys, is the baller door setup here. Really, really awesome. We put this all in for all of our, and then we have the glass kit right there, 20 inch by 60 inch. And I'm telling you, it doesn't get any better than that. All right, so next I want to talk to you guys about the ceiling. So the ceiling here is existing. We're not building anything from scratch. This is all in a basement. And like any basement ceiling, there's always something that gets in the way, right? So in this case, we had some fun things as well. So let me go through here and show you what's going on. So we've got the insulation. You always want insulation in your ceiling. We've got a beam that we've put in here that was existing, and there was also piping and stuff like that as well. So let me just kind of get rid of ceiling insulation too. And our piping is not shown right now in the plans, but it does exist there, and that's why we had to build out this massive section here, which I'm going to talk a lot about because I think a lot of you guys have questions about how do I soffit around beams, and so I'll show you exactly what we did here. Just as a general overview of this project, you can see here that I've switched 100% to the furring channels and the Genie clips. So if we go back to the plans here, you can see that we've got our furring channels and strips, 16 inches on center across, and then the ceiling is every 2 feet for the ceiling members there, and you've got the TJI joist there, and then you can see here we've got our clips in this view here as well that you can see just how they're put together. We always do our clips, especially for this many layers, you got to go really, really tight on your clips. So you got to do the math, kind of figure out how much weight per clip you're getting, and not, make sure you're doing it right. And then here you can actually see our LB clip. So this is holding our soffit together. So we've got this ridge beam, some space around it, but these guys, I did the math on these. These are awesome. They hold 108 pounds each. And that's going to be holding the piece of OSB that's going to be going around there. And then everything else gets attached to that around here until we get our finished layer. And so that's how you get the full ceiling layer there. And a lot of people, ask me how to do that, and there's really not too much to it. Let me show you in 3D. It might even make more sense. So you zoom in, you can see that clip there, and you can see how it's just hanging right below. And that's how you build around your beam and make sure that you've got all the layers you need. And then again, you fill it with insulation. So even in the beam, you fill that with insulation, and then you fill everything else with insulation too. And in general, that is the ceiling layers for our room. Pretty awesome. So one thing that a lot of people don't think about in their plans is generally just doing fire stops. And this page right here is what I want to kind of do is zoom in on this little guy. I'll zoom in a lot here and just show you guys what this looks like, because this is really the key to success these days. So you can see that the layers go above our 2x4 wall and then go into our cement wall here. And what we have here is the backer rod and acoustic sealant right there. So our wall ceiling does not actually touch the wall because that would ruin our sound isolation, obviously. So we leave a 1/4 inch gap and we fill it with acoustic backer rod and acoustic caulking. And then we have our Genie clips close to the edge of the ceiling. I like to get them pretty much as close as I can to hold everything, so that there's, with this much weight, I don't want to place my Genie clip over here and then have this thing sag. We also leave a 1/4 inch gap below the ceiling finish layer and our top plate of our interior wall. Now, this is the part that most people would probably get wrong. You shouldn't attach your top plate to your ceiling or have them touching. It's not the end of the world, because technically the ceiling is decoupled, but it's better, in my opinion, to keep that air gap. And then we put a little bit of backer rod and acoustic sealant across here as well, so that this is airtight. And then also our wall layers are not touching our ceiling layers. So this is just really helping to decouple the whole system in multiple ways. We're decoupling from the exterior structure, and then we're also decoupling from the interior elements of our room within a room as well. So, and this also benefits because this is a fire stop. So fire that happens inside this wall here, let's say there was a fire that broke out in the middle of this wall, it could not go up through here. We also use fire caulking on this last layer here, so that the fire could not come up through this wall ceiling and into this bay and spread throughout the house without you even noticing. So that's something that's really important when you're building a double wall system that most people don't talk about enough, probably. So now I want to talk about our door system here. And the door system is the ISOstore door. For those of you who have been following the channel, I'm currently a big fan of their stuff, and especially the fact that they can put windows in here is great. So we have one door opening in like that, and then on the outside we have another one of their doors opening out. Remember, it was the ISOstore HD and the HDLF. You want to use those if you're going to do the bomber-proof door design like we did in this studio, which is going to be amazing. Then you want to use the HD and the HDLF, not both one or the other. So let me show you a detail of the door here in the plan view. All right, so if you look down here, you can see this door view here, and I want to show you a little bit about this. You can see that we put in two 2x4 studs right here on either side, and these are called 2 king studs, and this is going to help support the weight of the door. Also, the header size can help support the weight of the door too. And then we're also going to use the Genie Clip RST. No, Genie Clip LB. That's what I'm trying to say. The Genie Clip LB for the sway bracing on the door, both sides of the header, in the middle here, and the middle here. And that's really going to help out. And we do all these plans so that you can easily see everything you need for the rough opening and how to frame the door properly. And then we also show how to frame out the ventilation, which we'll talk about shortly after. All right, so here's that door plan again. This is getting into how we do it. And we put a piece of 16th inch rubber all the way around the side of our door, crossing over from one edge of the doorway to the other, from the outermost 2x4 wall to the innermost 2x4 wall. And this covers that air gap. The rubber does not transfer sound well, so don't worry about that. And then we install the ISOstore door according to their installation instructions, which is pretty nice. You just put in the frame like they have. They ship it to you as a solid frame. You just install it. You can shim it. And then you go down here and you can install everything. And one of the main things I like to point out is putting in the putty pads, which is right here all the way around the door once you've shimmed it. So once you shim the door, you're going to want to make sure that you seal it up 100% with the putty pads, so that there's no way sound can get in around the edge of your door. And that's an important part. And we put some of the side views here of the door as well. All right, so I'm going to finish off this video with the electrical plan. And this is something that's really fun. I'm going to show you in 3D first, and then probably show you a little bit of the plan view as well. But behind our desk, we've got usually a 4-gang outlet. You can see it's blue there. That's where we do our isolated grounds. We've got an Ethernet jack, and then we've got a 2-gang regular outlet for like a lamp, charging your phone. Anything non-audio related is on a separate circuit there behind the desk, and that keeps everything clean. You can also see here, I'm going to go around here, that we've got a unique setup here, which is kind of cool. I do this in this is probably the most wall cats I've ever done in a studio, but these are the wall cats by Soundtools, and they're really awesome because they just plug in with a RJ45 Ethernet connection cable. You need to use Cat 5e or higher. So one of my clients said Cat 8 is probably the best way to go, and I kind of agree with him because Cat 8 is going to be the most future-proof, fastest bandwidth for everything. But these guys are going to be redirected around the room, and this is essentially like a patch bay behind his desk, so he can just run cables from here directly into his interface. And this is kind of, a more modern patch bay for those of you guys who don't want to solder out a massive patch bay in your studio. This is one way you could do it. Everything is surface mounted for isolation purposes. I don't mess around with drummers. And then we have 2 of these Ethernet ports right here for his hearback system. So we're going to be using the Behringer power play system for monitoring. So even in a one-room studio, if he wants to be playing his drums back here, for example, we put the this like specialized outlet here where he's going to be running Ethernet for the Behringer power play. He's got also HDMI, USB-C, and USB-A in here to run his computer from the back of his desk over there. And then we've also got this cool 4-gang outlet here for his drum set. So he can run 4 directly in on this side of his drum set and 4 on this side of his drum set, get a total of 8 channels for his drum set, which I find is great. And if you wanted to add room mics or something, it's obviously not that far away, but this keeps things a lot cleaner. And then the same thing over here, we just put 4 outlets over here as well, and I believe 4 outlets over here. So if he's jamming or wants to record people, that'll just keep things a lot cleaner, and everything just comes out through the wall over here, like I said before. So in a room like this, you could run everything across the room, but you'd have cables everywhere. And so when we're designing these from scratch, we like to take it up a notch for our clients and just make sure they're getting a much better experience than if they just DIY'd it. The last thing I'll say about electrical that's really cool is this is our Philips Hue tap switch. So this, if you haven't heard of this, you can look into it, but we do a lot of Philips Hue lighting. We just have 2 lights here, plus this lighting switch. This is like turning on and off the lights completely, and then this controls your Philips Hue light system. So if he wants to do backlighting with his clouds or adjust the bulbs in these lamps or whatever he wants to do, he can set 4 different custom patterns and just click them on and off to change the mood, and then he can roll the dial forward and backward to dim them. And the dimmer is at the light bulb, so I'm not as worried about the interference, especially with something as high quality as Philips Hue. You don't want to get the cheap knockoffs because they do have more interference potential. All right, everybody, this has been a lot of information, so I want to kind of wrap it up here. We'll have part 2 next week. As you can see, there is a ton that goes into a high-end quality studio design. If you're watching this and you're like, man, that is awesome, I want a set of plans just like that, I want a set of renders, I want my whole 3D mock-up, well, then reach out to us. I'd be happy to see if we're a good fit. I do 30-minute free calls over Zoom. I'd love to meet you and understand more about your project. To sign up for that, just go to soundproofyourstudio.com and click on the button that says I want some construction plans, and I will look forward to talking to you in person over Zoom, and we can just hang out and nerd out about your studio. For those of you who are like, I'm not quite there, guys, I'm not ready for plans, I'm not sure I'm ready to hire someone else to help me, no big deal. I get it. I DIY'd my first studio. I'm very much in that mindset, back in the day. I understood it. So if you're in that place, just sign up for the free soundproofing workshop. I guarantee you it will be chef's kiss, amazing. So to do that, just go to soundproofyourstudio.com/workshop, and you can just type in and you're ready to go. All right, everybody, I'm Wilson Harwood. I'm here trying to make a topic that's really boring and usually a bunch of old white men talking about it a little bit more fun. So hopefully you're enjoying that. And again, thanks for the subscribes. Thanks for the listens on the podcast. I really appreciate you guys so much. We just got over 15,000 views, which was like a big milestone. I couldn't have imagined that with such a small niche channel. That is really big for us. So just thanks so much for watching and participating. I really appreciate you, and know that you're part of my community, even if of this community, not even my community. You're part of this community just by watching this, and you know that you're in a good place, good vibes here. Only good vibes. All right, everybody. I'll see y'all later, and see you next week, actually. Bye.